Here you can't hear screams. They are drowned out by machines. They are swallowed by steam. They are dissolved by dust. Here you can only hear the rhythm, endless, inexorable, metallic. Every revolution is another hour. Every belt is another day. Every gear is another life, squeezed between mechanisms. There are no windows in this building, only smoke, only hot air, only shadows moving with the machines. Children work here. Here they age in a year. Here they learn to be silent. Because the machine doesn't hear requests, it doesn't stop. It doesn't look into your eyes. It just works. And if you are here, then you are already inside. Inside a textile factory in 1880. A ringing that will not let you out. You're already inside. And the scariest thing here isn't even the noise. The scariest thing is how quickly you stop noticing that it's swallowing you up. The first few seconds seem just loud, inconvenient, as if you've entered the wrong place and someone will politely point to the door. But no door is shown. You're standing in a corridor where the air is warm, like in a laundry room, and smells of wet cloth, oil, and something sweet, almost unpleasant, like old glue or mold in a chest that hasn't been opened in a long time. The walls are dark. Dust is settling on them, white, fine, like flour. It sticks to your eyelashes, to your lips, to your skin. You can't see it right away, but you can feel it crunching against your teeth. Somewhere far away, machines are already working, not in separate sounds, but in a continuous canvas of noise. A hum, a thud, a rhythmic click, the rustle of belts running on wheels. It doesn't look like a city. It looks like a huge organism that breathes and moves without stopping. And in this organism, you are a small detail. A man in a dark apron walks by. He doesn't look at you. He doesn't even pretend to see. It's as if there's a rule in this place. Don't waste your eyes on those who haven't yet become part of the noise. You walk on. The floor is a little damp. Somewhere under your feet, the wood creaks subtly. You feel a slight vibration. It rises from below, through the soles of your feet, under your knees, into your chest, as if the building itself is working and keeping you on its rhythm. And then you hear the bell. One short, sharp blow. Not church, not festive. It is a bell that promises nothing. It commands. After it, people move faster. Some straighten their shoulders. Some, on the contrary, slouch, as if preparing to withstand something heavy. This bell has no emotion. It simply says, now, to work. Now, not to stop. You reach the large doors. They are open, but they seem heavy. And when you cross the threshold, the noise does not get louder. It gets closer, as if you have entered the very center of the heart. Before you is a hall, long, wide, with a low ceiling where lamps hang, looking like small yellow moons in the fog. The fog here is real. Steam from moisture, dust from fibers, heat from bodies and from machines. In it, the light spreads like oil on fabric. There are 2 rows of machines, large, black, shiny with grease. Their belts move like living snakes. Their wheels spin so fast that it seems that if you look at them for too long, your head will start spinning. Between them are people. First of all, you see hands. Hands that reach for the threads, check the tension, catch the ends, pick them up, stop them, start them. Hands with rubbed fingers. hands with wrapped wrists, hands that move so habitually as if they were taught not by people, but by the machines themselves. You see faces only later, and these faces do not look at you for long. Each glance is short, quick, cautious. It is dangerous to look here too much, because if you look, it means you are distracted. And if you are distracted, it means the machine is getting closer. And then you notice the children. Not right away. At first, it seems that they are just very small people, or that the fog makes all the figures shorter. But no, they are children. Boys and girls. Thin, narrow-shouldered, in shirts that were once light, but now the same color as the dust. They move quickly and precisely. Their bodies seem to have learned to be invisible, to slip between the belts, under the frame, between the wooden boxes with the spools. They don't run, they don't play, they don't look around. They work as if they have no other life. And here, in this second, you feel real fear for the first time. Not the kind of fear that lives in dark alleys, not the fear of the shadow behind your back. This is a different kind of fear. The fear that everything looks normal. People are used to it. Children are used to it. Machines are used to it. As if it were meant to be, for little fingers to touch the threads while the wheels turn nearby. As if it were meant to be, for faces to express nothing but fatigue. As if it were meant to be, for the bell to command, not call. You take a few steps between the machines, and suddenly you notice something that is not immediately obvious. On some people, bandages. Not bright, not new. Just pieces of cloth roughly wrapped around fingers or palms. No one asks what happened. No one stops work to figure it out. The bandage is not a sign of trouble. It is part of the uniform. You see a boy of about 10. He is standing very close to the machine, almost touching it with his shoulder. His lips are slightly parted, as if he is calculating something in his head. He looks at the thread passing between the rollers, and from time to time makes a small movement, correcting, leveling. Movement, and immediately back, as if he knows there is a limit here, a line beyond which no one should cross. You can't see his eyes well. The fog and the lamp make them dark. But you feel that he is very attentive, not because he wants to, because inattention is paid for here. And then another man appears next to you. He could be a foreman, a supervisor, someone with keys. He's wearing a cleaner apron. His hair is neatly combed. He looks at you as if you're an extra item on his desk. New? He asks, but it's not a question. You want to answer, but the noise makes your voice sound funny. You nod. He doesn't smile. He just tilts his head to the side a little, like a pointer. Stay away from the belts. Don't look up. Don't climb where you shouldn't. If you hear the bell, don't stop. If you stop, you'll be replaced. He says the last words quietly, almost casually, but they send a chill down your spine. You'll be replaced. As if you are not human. As if you are a spool of thread. As if this place has spare spools for everyone. He walks on, and you are left alone in the noise. You look at the machines and realize a strange thing. They are like cages. Not because they have bars, but because they create corridors that are difficult to escape from. They dictate the trajectory of movement. They force the body to walk the same way, over and over again. You try to find a window with your eyes, and you don't find one. Instead of windows, there are sooty frames through which you can't see the sky. There is no outside world. There is only the light of the lamps, steam, and dust. And here you feel trapped. Not physically, there seems to be a door, but psychologically, when you realize that people have lived here for so long that they can no longer imagine any other rhythm. You notice a little girl, a very small one, standing by a basket of bobbins. She holds the thread as if it were something alive. She moves so carefully, as if she's afraid to wake the machine. She looks up at you, and there's something in that look that makes you want to back away. Not a plea for help, not tears, not fear. There's a habit of adults walking by, a habit of no one asking her how old she is, a habit of the bell deciding when to eat, when to breathe, when to stand. And you suddenly realize, this factory doesn't just make fabric, it produces silence. Silence in the head, silence in the eyes, silence that makes people comfortable, because if a person is silent, he does not ask. If he does not ask, he does not protest. If he does not protest, the machine works. And it is in this silence that what we have to see is hidden. Not only belts and gears, not only fatigue, but the rules by which this place lives. Rules that are not written on the wall, but are felt in every movement, every look, every short breath. And you have already heard the first rule. You will hear the bell, do not stop. Because here, stopping is weakness. And weakness is what the factory squeezes out of people first of all. You stand between the rows of machines and feel the vibration of the floor pass through you. It's as if the building wants to remember your step. It's as if it's already decided. You too will become part of this rhythm. And right now, in the first chapter, we're going to do what they don't like the most here. We're going to start asking questions. Who really runs this place? Why do the kids work here as if it's normal? And what happens to those who one day can't keep up with the rhythm? But first, we need to get closer, to where the noise becomes so dense that it seems like a wall, to where the fog is thicker, to where, between the belts and the wheels, lives the history that the factory has hidden for decades. Because once you're inside, then it only gets deeper. Rules of survival. The noise doesn't change. You change. You catch yourself breathing shorter, more evenly, adjusting to the rhythm of the machines. As if your lungs also have to work on schedule, otherwise they will be replaced. Everything has its own order here, not the one written down in books, and not the one spoken about out loud. The order that people carry in their shoulders, in their tense jaws, in the glances that slide past each other. An order that is based not on words, but on habit and on fear. You take a few more steps between the rows of machines and notice there are narrow aisles between the machines, so narrow that it is difficult for two people to pass each other. And this is no accident. This is the first rule. Rule 1. Don't take up space. Here you can't stop and think. You can't stop to look around. You're always either walking or working. The body has no right to be superfluous. You see a guy, thin, as if carved from wood, walking past almost sideways so as not to touch the belt. He doesn't look at the belt. He looks through it, as if he knows. If you allow yourself to be afraid, your hands will become slower. And that's the second rule. Rule 2. Don't show fear. Not because everyone here is brave, but because fear makes a person noticeable. And the noticeable ones here are those who are easy to pick. You notice another thing. People say very little. They communicate with gestures, nods, a glance to the side, a brief touch of the elbow, as if words are a luxury here, as if you have to pay for them. And that's the third rule. Rule 3. Don't waste your voice, because a voice is a question. A question is a delay. Delay is a problem. You don't know who came up with these rules. Maybe no one. They just appeared like dust on the walls. At first, a little. Then every day. And now you can't clean them off. You stop by the table where the spools are stacked. Next to them is a wooden box with scraps of fabric. At first glance, they are ordinary things. But if you look longer, you notice the little things. The scraps here are not just dirty. They are worn out in a strange way, as if they have been picked up many times, as if the fabric is used for more than just a product. And you see, one man, an older man, with gray hair at his temples, takes out a piece of fabric, wraps it around his fingers, and then hides it again. This is not a bandage. This is protection. And he does it so quickly, as if he is ashamed. You understand that protection here is also a private matter, like a prayer, like a secret. And then you hear another sound. Not a bell, not a knock. A short, dry blow, like someone hitting wood. Then another, and another. You turn your head. There's a supervisor standing near the far row. Now you recognize this type of person immediately. Not because of their uniform, not because of the cleanliness of their aprons, but because of the way the space around them thins out. How others take a step to the side without even realizing it. The supervisor holds a short stick. It doesn't look like a weapon. It looks like a tool. But there's something cold about that too. Here they're trying to make even punishment part of the job. He doesn't shout. He doesn't need to. The machines shout for him. He simply points his stick at the woman at the machine, and she immediately starts moving faster. Her shoulders tense. Her lips tighten. Her eyes become even emptier. You see that the supervisor is following the rhythm. He is like the conductor of this orchestra. And that is when you understand the fourth rule. Rule 4. Rhythm is more important than the person. You don't set the pace. The machine sets the pace. And the machine is under supervision. You feel something inside you tighten. Because in the city you can leave the room. On the street you can change direction. Here the direction is already decided. You come closer to one of the machines. Just a step. Just to see. And you see? The thread goes straight, smoothly, without a single mistake. It passes through the rollers so quickly that it seems like a light line drawn in the air. The girl who is watching her makes small movements with her fingers, almost delicate. It looks as if she is playing a musical instrument. But you know, this is not music. This is survival. You notice another detail. The girl has a small rope around her neck and a knot on the rope. No pendant, no cross, just a knot. She catches your eye and quickly turns away. And suddenly you realize it might not be a decoration. It might be a marker, a way to remember. Because it's easy to forget yourself here. It's easy to become just your hands. It's easy to become just a shadow between the machines. The rope with the knot is like a reminder. I am. I still am. You want to ask, but you immediately feel the fifth rule, even before it is formulated in words. Rule number 5. Don't touch other people's secrets. Because every secret here is like a thin thread. If you pull it, it can break. And then everything will go wrong. And wrong here is dangerous. At the other end of the hall, you see a door. It is half open. There is a dark sign on it. You cannot read it because of the fog, but you feel that people do not go there just like that. Next to the door stands a boy with a bucket. He seems very small, and the bucket is too big for him. He holds it with both hands, so tightly, as if he is afraid that the bucket will run away. And you see that he is not just standing there. He is waiting, as if he has a task, but he cannot do it without permission. As if his life is a constant, wait one more second. You look at the door, and you get the feeling that the factory does not end with this hall. What is deeper here? Places where the noise becomes lower, almost deaf. Places where children do not work, or those who are not counted work. Places where they store not reals, but something else. And then the bell rings again. This time, longer. People don't stop, but a small break appears in their movements. It's as if everyone makes a mark inside themselves. It's not over yet. You look at their faces and finally understand that they are not waiting for a break. They are waiting for the moment when they can survive another shift. And there is something more terrifying in this thought than belts and gears. Because the factory teaches people not to live. The factory teaches people to hold on, but you can't hold on for long. The only question is, who will be the first to fail? And what does the factory do with those who become superfluous? You look again at that half-open door with the sign, and you understand. In the next chapter, we will go there, to where they keep the rules that are not spoken out loud, where even the overseers speak more quietly, where the factory hides its true value. Because if the first hall is noise, then behind this door is what makes people silent. Door with a nameplate. You stare at that door for a long time. It doesn't look special. Ordinary wooden ones, darkened by moisture and time. A metal handle rubbed by the palms of your hands. A nameplate with an inscription that has almost been erased. But you don't just walk past them. People walk past them as if they don't see them. Not with their eyes, not with their shoulders. They walk next to them, but always a little further than they should. As if there is an invisible boundary between them and the door. And that says more than any words can say. You take a step to the side, closer to the wall, and look around the hall again. The machines are working. The belts are moving. Children are running between the machines with the coils. The factory doesn't pay attention to you. But the door, as if it is watching. You feel it with your body. The same strange feeling that comes when you stand in a dark corridor and know there is someone behind your back, although you can't see anyone. You take another step. A man with a box walks by. He stops for a second, looks at you, and says very quietly, "They don't go there," and walks on, without a threat, without an explanation, as if it's not a ban, but a law of nature. Like, don't put your hand in the fire. Like, don't lie under the wheel. You stand in front of the door. The noise here is a little different, lower, muffler, as if the walls are thicker, as if they store not only things here, but also sounds. You put your hand on the handle. It's cold. And at that moment, you feel something very old awaken in you. What warns you, if you step over, it won't be easy to get back. But you're already inside the factory, and the factory doesn't like those who hesitate. You push. The door opens with a soft creak, one that's almost inaudible in the noise. But it seems to you that it's too loud, as if the whole hall will turn around and look right now. No one is looking. You go in. It's darker here. The lamps are spaced out more. The air is colder. The smell is different. Not fabric and steam, but wood, old paint, and moisture. The corridor is narrow. The walls are scratched. In places, you can see marks as if boxes or carts have often been pushed here. You walk slowly. There are no cars here, no belts, no bell. There is silence here, and this silence is worse than the noise, because in it you can hear your own footsteps, your own breathing, your own thoughts. There's another sign on the wall, also erased. Something important had once been written on it, maybe a warning, maybe an instruction. Now only scratches remain. The corridor leads to another door. It's more massive. Iron strips around the edges, a lock. You can see that the lock is often opened. The metal around it is worn. The wood has darkened from hands. Nearby is a bench, simple, rough, without a back. And on this bench there are marks. You don't know what they're from, but they've been here for a long time. You sit down on the edge of the bench for a second to catch your breath, and suddenly you realize they're waiting here. This isn't a place to store things. This is a place for people. Those who have been summoned. Those who need to be checked. Those who have done something wrong. And here you feel real insecurity. Because in the hall, at least, they saw you. Here, you disappear. If you sit here, no one knows where you are. If you disappear here, the noise will not change. The factory will continue to work. And you understand, this door is not just a boundary between rooms. It is a boundary between those who work and those who are already being counted. You hear footsteps, not from behind, in front. Someone is walking down the corridor towards you. You get up. A figure appears from the darkness. A man in a long coat, no apron, no dust on his shoulders. His shoes are clean. He looks at you for a long time, very attentively, as if deciding what kind of person you are. "You are not from that side," he says calmly. Not harshly, not angrily, just as a matter of fact. You remain silent. He comes closer. His gaze glides over your face, your hands, your shoes. "They don't work here," he says. "They count here." And then you understand. A factory is not just about machines. A factory is a system. It knows how much thread is produced in a day, how many spools disappear, how many hands can work without stopping, and it knows how many people can be replaced. You take a step back. The man doesn't stop you, he just looks. And you feel that this gaze is like another mechanism, silent, invisible, but no less dangerous. You return to the hall. The noise covers you again like a wave. The machines roar, the belts run, the people move, as if nothing had happened. But now you know. There is another side to this factory, and on this side, the wheels don't turn. That's where decisions turn. Who to stay, who to send on, who to erase from the rhythm. And if you're here for a long time, sooner or later, this door will open for you again. Those who cannot be heard. Behind the door with the sign, the factory seems different. Not louder, not darker, but more indifferent. You turn between the machines, and they work the same way. The belts run, the wheels turn. The threads stretch in a straight line, as if nothing in the world can stop them. People stand in their places. They move in the same rhythm. They breathe short and fast, adjusting to the noise. But now you look at them differently. Now you see not only those who are here, you begin to notice those who are not here. A woman with dark hair tied in a tight knot stands by one of the machines. She works quickly, almost sharply, as if trying to outrun the machine itself. Next to her is an empty space. The machine is working. The belt moves. And the man is gone. And no one asks where he is. You walk on and notice another empty space, between two guys feeding the spools. They stand a little closer together than necessary to close the gap. It's as if the factory can't stand emptiness, as if everyone who disappears must be replaced immediately. You stop by a box of thread. On its edge is a scratch, long, uneven, as if someone had scratched the wood with their nails. You don't know where it came from, but it doesn't look random. You look around and suddenly realize that the factory is full of marks. Not big ones, not obvious ones, but small, quiet ones. A worn-out step, a broken hook, a knot in the rope left on a nail. They are all like signs, as if someone was trying to leave a memory behind. But they don't like memories here. You notice the girl, the same one, with a knot around her neck. She is now working at another machine. Next to her is a boy you haven't seen before. He is too thin for his age. His shirt hangs like it's on a hanger. He looks at the machine with such intensity, as if he's afraid to blink. You look at them and realize, another child could have been here yesterday, and today she's gone. You want to ask someone, just, where is that girl who worked here? Or, what happened to the man with the bandaged hand? But the words get stuck, because you see how people react to any unnecessary movement. When someone lingers for a second, the supervisor appears nearby. When someone turns their head, the stick hits the floor. When someone slows down, another person is already standing nearby. The factory doesn't explain. It simply replaces. And then you understand another rule. Rule 6. Disappearing is part of the order. Here they don't say left. They don't say sick. They don't say won't come again. Here they just keep working. Because if you start counting the missing, you'll have to stop. And stopping is something the factory doesn't allow. You see an old man sitting on a box by the wall. He's not working. He's holding a small piece of cloth in his hands, and slowly, very slowly, he runs his fingers over it. They don't chase him away, but they don't call him back either. He sits as if he's waiting. You come closer. His eyes are fixed on one point. He doesn't blink. Are you tired? You ask quietly, almost in a whisper. He doesn't react immediately, and then he slowly turns his head. Fatigue doesn't count here, he says. Only those who can still stand are counted here. And those who can't? He looks at you for a long time. They become silent. You don't immediately understand what he means. And then you remember the door with the sign, the bench, the corridor without machines, and a chill runs through you. Are they going somewhere? You ask. The old man looks at the fabric again. They stop being here, he says, and we're no longer interested. A supervisor walks by. The old man immediately falls silent. His shoulders hunch. He becomes small again. And you understand. Here, they're not only afraid of machines. Here, they're afraid to remember. Because memory is proof, and proof is danger. You look again at the empty spaces between the machines, and it seems to you that they're looking back at you. It's as if the factory is showing, there was a person here, and now he's gone, and nothing has changed. You feel something tighten in your chest, because the scariest thing here isn't the noise. The scariest thing is the silence that comes after someone. And if you work here long enough, one day your place will become just another empty space between the machines, just like everyone else. Account. You start to notice paper. Not right away. At first, it seems like there's no room for anything in this factory except metal, steam, and cloth. But if you look closely, paper is everywhere. Small sheets of paper pinned to boards, notebooks with bent corners, books with dark covers rubbed by hands, and always a pencil. Not a pen, not ink, a pencil. As if everything they write here should be ready to be erased. You see a man standing at a table in the corner of the room. He doesn't touch the machines. His hands are cleaner than the others. In front of him is a thick book. He turns the pages slowly but surely. His finger glides over the lines. Every now and then he makes a quick mark. You can't see what he's writing, but you feel that these marks are more important than all the spools around. You come a little closer. On the table are several stacks of paper. On each one are numbers. Long rows of numbers. Sometimes names, but names appear here less often. More often, just numbers. These are reports, someone nearby says. You shudder. It's the same woman with the dark bun of hair. She doesn't look at you, but she speaks as if she's been waiting for you to ask. Every day, every hour, every machine, every shift. And the people, you ask. She pauses. People too. You look at the book. The pages are yellowed. Some have stains from moisture. The lines run straight, like threads on a loom. A number, a mark. Another number, another mark. And the names, you ask. Names are for new people, she says. Then they get in the way of counting. And then you realize that a factory sees the world differently from people. For it, there is no such thing as fatigue. There is no such thing as fear. There are no such things as children's hands and old backs. There is only volume, speed, losses. And these losses are also recorded. You notice a separate column. It is shorter. It has fewer numbers. But it is to it that the man with the book returns more often. What is this, you ask? The woman finally looks at you. Disposal. The word sounds dry, as if it is about broken parts, about worn belts, about broken wheels. And where do they go, you ask? She shrugs. Through the door with the sign. Next is not our department. Department. The factory is divided not only by walls, it is divided by decisions. You watch as a man in a clean apron closes a book. He doesn't hide it. He doesn't lock it. He just puts it on a shelf. Here they are not afraid that someone will read it, because few dare. You walk further and see another board. On it are sheets of paper nailed together. On each one are numbers, large, rough. written so that they can be seen from afar. Plan, norm, execution. And another column, delays. You see the boy with the spools looking at these numbers. His lips move as if he is reading them to himself. He is not counting threads. He is counting time. Because here, time is also a resource. And if you don't put in the effort, you'll be counted. You notice a man with a bandaged hand. He works slower than the others. His movements are more careful. The supervisor approaches the board. He looks at the numbers. Then he looks at the man. He doesn't say anything, but he makes a mark. And you know, this is not just a record. It's a warning. The factory doesn't quarrel. It accumulates. You remember the bench in the corridor, the footprints on the tree, the man in the coat, and you understand. The bill is not about money. The bill is about the limit. How much more can you work? How many times can you slow down? How many mistakes will you be allowed to make? And when the number gets too big, you are moved to another column. You look at the boy, at the girl with the knot, at the old man sitting by the wall, and you see them not as people, but as lines. You feel the factory looking at you the same way, not with its eyes, not with its face, with its columns. And if you're here for a long time, your name will be the first to be erased. Only the number will remain, and the number is easy to replace. They talk about the norm here as if it were something alive. It doesn't hang on the wall as a rule. It doesn't stand by the machine like a supervisor, but you feel it everywhere. It's in the rhythm of the steps, in the speed of the hands, in the way people lean towards the machines, a little forward, as if bowing. The norm is the heart of the factory, and it beats faster than a human's. You see it on the board, where the big numbers are written in rough handwriting, where each shift is a new line, where next to the plan is the execution, and between them is the difference. Never zero, because zero would mean that you can stop, and stopping here is a crime. You watch the supervisor walk along the rows. In his hand is a watch. He doesn't look at the people. He looks at the needle. It's as if he's not measuring time, but the ability of the body to withstand it. He stops next to a woman who is working faster than the others. Her movements are sharp, almost convulsive. She doesn't look at the thread. She looks at the point behind her. "Okay," he says, and this word sounds strange here, as if it's from another world. Then he moves on to the boy who is barely keeping up with the machine. The boy tenses his shoulders. His fingers tremble. The supervisor looks at the clock, then at the boy, then at the board. Doesn't say anything. But you know, the norm has already decided. You understand that it doesn't matter how you work here. What matters is whether you keep up with the norm. And the norm never waits. You see the girl with the knot around her neck approaching the basket. She lifts the reel, which is heavier than her arms. She tenses, stops for a moment. This moment is enough. The supervisor is already nearby. He doesn't shout. He just watches. And the girl immediately lifts the reel again. Her movement becomes faster, sharper, more dangerous. You feel the factory compressing the space around her, how the norm is coming closer. You want to go up, to say something, to help. But a woman walks by and says quietly, "Don't climb. Here everyone is responsible for their own pace." You look at her. And if she can't? She shrugs. Then the norm will find someone who can. And there is no anger in this phrase, there is no cruelty, only fatigue. You notice that people here hardly eat, not because there is no food, but because there is no time. Someone chews on the go, someone swallows a piece without stopping. Someone simply waits for the bell, because a break is not a right, it is a reward, and it must be earned at a pace. You remember the numbers on the board. The column delays marks with a pencil. And you understand, the norm is not a limit. This is a line that is constantly moving forward. Today, faster than yesterday. Tomorrow, faster than today. Because machines can. Because belts do not get tired. Because wheels do not hurt. And people have to keep up. You see the old man from the box against the wall trying to get up. His movements are slow. It is difficult for him. He takes a step, then another, and stops. The supervisor looks at him from the end of the line. He doesn't come up. He doesn't call out. He doesn't help. He just looks. And in that look there is finality. The old man sits back down. He knows. Norma has already counted him. You feel your chest tighten, because you understand. Here they don't ask how much you can do. Here they check how much you can endure. And when you can't endure it, the factory doesn't stop. She simply makes a note and moves on. You look at the board again, at the plan, at the execution, at the difference. And for the first time you catch yourself thinking, perhaps this difference is the real price. Not in the money, not in the fabric, but in the people who are trying to catch up with something that never stops. And while they're running, the factory is running. Stop. Stop the shift. The day doesn't end here. He's just getting tired. The light outside the windows is getting darker, but the night doesn't come in the hall. The lamps are still burning. The machines are working the same. The belts are running as if there were no evening or morning. The factory doesn't know time. It only knows the shift. You hear another bell. Not sharp, not imperative. Dull. Long. As if someone is hitting metal from the inside. People don't stop immediately. They slow down. Movements become heavier. Shoulders sag. As if everyone is carrying the whole day on their shoulders. One group leaves. Another comes in. You see new faces. They look the same as you did in the morning. Cleaner, smoother, not yet broken by the noise. They stand at the entrance and look at the hall. And in their eyes is the same as in yours. Uncertainty, tension, misunderstanding. They still think it's just work. You watch the old shift leave. People walk slowly, silently, as if they're afraid to wake something that's not sleeping. Some limp. Some hold on to the wall. Some don't look ahead, only at the floor. And you notice a strange thing. They don't look happy, even those who are going home, as if the factory isn't letting go right away, as if its noise will ring in your head for a long time. You go out into the corridor with them. It's darker there, colder. The air seems cleaner, but the lungs still remember the dust. Someone sits down on the floor. Someone leans against the wall. Someone closes their eyes, as if they're afraid that if they open them, they'll see the belts again. "Which one are you from?" asks the man next to them. "The first one," you answer. He nods. "The first one is always the worst. Then you get used to it." "To what?" He looks at you. to the fact that the fatigue doesn't go away. These words sound calm, as if it's just a fact. You see a woman wiping her hands on her apron. Her fingers are shaking. She tries to stop it, clenching them into a fist. "Tomorrow again," she says to someone next to her, and there's no question in her voice, because tomorrow always comes here. You return to the hall with a new shift. The machines haven't noticed the replacement of people. For them, it's all the same movement, the same rhythm. New workers take the place of the old ones. It's as if the factory is simply changing parts. You see a boy who comes in place of the one who carried the bucket at the door with the sign. He looks around, not knowing where to stand. The supervisor points with his stick. "Here." The boy comes up. The place is already ready. The bucket is already waiting. And you understand. Here, even waiting is based on flow. You look at the lamps. They shine equally brightly day and night. They don't get tired. They don't blink. Night here is just another shift. You feel a strange feeling growing inside you, as if you're not in the building. It's like you're in a clock, and all the people are hands. They move to show that the factory is alive, but no one asks what time it is. You stop at the edge of the hall and watch the new shift get into rhythm. At first carefully, then faster, then just like the previous one. And you understand, it doesn't matter who works here. What matters is that someone works. The factory doesn't sleep. The factory doesn't wait. The factory doesn't remember. It just changes people. And if you're here long enough, you'll forget the last time you saw darkness without lamps. Night rose. The factory sounds different at night. Not because the machines work quieter. They work the same. The belts run the same. The wheels turn at the same speed. But human voices disappear. The night takes away even those fragments of words that still remained during the day. People do not speak. They move like shadows. They look only at the thread, only at their hands, only at the edge of the machine. You stand in the night hall and feel how the light of the lamps seems colder. It does not warm. It does not calm. It simply illuminates. And in this light, everyone looks lonelier. You walk between the rows. The shadows of the machines stretch across the floor, intertwine, overlap each other. They are like a big map, where instead of roads there are belts, and instead of rivers there are rows of looms. It is easy to get lost here. It is easy to lose direction here, because the night takes away the sense of space. The hall seems longer. The ceiling is lower. The aisles are narrower. And you feel the factory shrinking around you. You see a guy standing at the loom at the very end of the row. His face is almost invisible. Only a bright spot from the lamp on his forehead and nose. He works slower than the others. Not because he can't, but because his hands obey him less at night. The body wants to sleep. The eyes want to close. The head becomes heavy, and the machine knows it. You see his fingers linger on the thread for a second. 1 second. But at night it seems longer. The overseer doesn't shout. He just appears from the shadows. He always appears from where you least expect it. His footsteps are almost inaudible. His silhouette blends into the wall. And only the stick in his hand catches the light of the lamp. He doesn't touch the boy. He just taps the floor. Once. That's enough. The boy shudders. His movements become more abrupt. He works faster than he can. And you understand. Fear becomes louder at night. It sounds in every creak of wood, in every rustle of a belt, in every breath that seems too loud. You walk on. Here in the night rows, people look the same. Faces disappear. Only movement remains. You look at your hands. Dozens of hands repeating the same thing. Hundreds of fingers reaching for the threads. Movement after movement, over and over again. And you catch yourself thinking that if you look long enough, you might stop seeing people. All you can see is the mechanism. It's as if the factory is absorbing bodies and turning them into parts of itself. You stop at the window. It's high, dirty. There's darkness behind it. You can't see the street. You can't see the houses. You can't see the sky. Only your reflection. Pale, tired, strange. And you suddenly realize that the factory seems more closed at night, as if the door has disappeared, as if there's no way out anymore. You see a woman standing with her shoulder against the machine. She's working, but her eyes are half closed. She's swaying, barely noticeable. It's as if only the sound of the machines is holding her. You take a step towards her, and then you hear a whisper. Don't come closer. You turn around. Another woman is standing nearby. She's not looking at you, at the machine. They don't help at night, she says. They only work at night. And if... She doesn't let you finish. No one can see at night, she says. And that's dangerous. You look at the woman by the machine. She straightens up, continues to move, as if the night has given her a little more strength. You walk on, and you notice that there are more shadows in the night rows than people. Shadows from the machines, shadows from the belts, shadows from the bodies. They overlap one another and become like something alive. And you catch yourself thinking that the factory looks like a creature at night. Big, dark, insatiable. It breathes steam. It moves with belts. It looks with lamps. And you are inside. You hear another sound. Not a bell. Not a knock. A quiet cough somewhere in the depths of the hall. Once. Second. Third. And then silence. No one looks back, because at night here, they don't look for where the sound came from. At night here, they learn not to notice. You feel fear slowly seeping into you, not sharply, not painful, like cold. And you understand. In the night rows, the factory shows its true face. Not daytime, not showy. And the one that is not meant for looking at. And if you stay here long enough, the night will become ordinary for you. And the darkness is just another change. List of names. In this factory, memory doesn't live long. It doesn't cling to walls. It doesn't hide in corners. It doesn't stay in the dust between the boards. It's erased the same way a pencil erases numbers from a book. You notice it in the morning. After the night shift, the hall seems emptier. Not physically. There are people. The machines are running. But something is missing. Someone. You pass the same row where they coughed in the dark yesterday. Now there's another person standing there. She's younger. She's moving faster. and no one asks why the place has changed. You go to the table with the books. The man with the clean hands is there again. He turns the pages, makes notes. His pencil squeaks softly, but in this silence the sound seems sharp. You stand nearby and see him writing, without looking at the people, without looking at the machines, only at the book. "What are you writing down?" you ask. He doesn't answer right away. What remains? And what disappears? He looks up. What didn't make it? You look at the pages. There are names here, but there aren't many of them. The names appear at the top of the list. Then they are crossed out. Then they are replaced by numbers. When does a name become a number? You ask. He closes the book. When they stop calling him. You look around. No one in the hall calls anyone. People don't address each other by name. They wave their hands, with a nod, with a look. A name here is an extra sound, and sound is a delay. You notice another board on the wall. There's a sheet of paper on it. It hangs separately, a little higher than the others, and people don't look at it for long. You approach. There's a list. Uneven lines, different handwriting, old paper, names, dozens of names. Some have crosses next to them. Some have dates next to them. Some have nothing. "What's this?" you ask the woman with the knotted hair. She looks at the sheet as if there's something dangerous on it. These are the ones who are still remembered. Who writes this? Those who are afraid to forget. You read the names, simple, short, ordinary, and suddenly you see something familiar. The name of the boy who carried the bucket, the name of the woman who worked the fastest, the name of the old man in the box. You begin. "They're not here anymore," she says. "But as long as their names are here, they're not gone yet." "And when will the sheet be taken down?" She's silent. Then she says, "Then the factory will forget them." You look at the list, and you feel strange, as if it's not just paper, as if this is the only place where people still exist other than as numbers. You notice that the sheet is held on by 2 rusty nails. It's easy to take it down, easy to replace. The factory doesn't like things like that, because memory is a stop, and a stop is a danger. You see the supervisor walking past the board. He looks at the sheet. His lips purse. He doesn't break it, not yet, because even a factory needs time to erase everything. You walk away, and you catch yourself thinking that you're afraid of one thing, that one day you'll wake up, come to the hall, and you won't be able to find your own name, and no one will notice, because a factory only remembers rhythm, and people are temporary sounds in this noise, and if you shut up, the machines will continue to speak for you. Doors that open. There are doors that don't creak. They open quietly, too quiet for a factory, and that's why they're more feared than the bell. You don't notice them right away. They hide behind rows of machines, in the shadows where the lights are dimmer. They're not marked with a sign. There's no writing on them. But people know they're there, because when those doors open, the hall gets a little quieter. Not because the machines stop, but because people stop breathing deeply. You're standing by your machine when you see the supervisor walking along the row. Today he's not with a stick. Today he's holding a list, a small sheet of paper. He stops. He looks. He checks. Then he calls out a name. The voice is not loud. It is barely audible over the noise. but the name cuts through the room like a crack. The man standing 2 machines away from you flinches. He doesn't react immediately, as if he hopes he heard the wrong thing. The supervisor repeats, and now everyone knows. This is not just a challenge. This is an invitation to leave. The man slowly takes off his gloves. He places them on the edge of the machine, carefully, as if he will come back. Then he takes a step, and another. His shoulders are tense. His back is straight. He doesn't look around, because if you look, you will see faces, and faces can remember. You watch him walk between the rows. People don't move aside. They don't help. They pretend nothing is happening, like he is just going to get water, as if it were a normal transition between machines. But you see their hands shaking. You see the girl with the knot on her neck stop moving for half a second. That second is enough. The guard looks at her. She immediately continues. The man reaches the shadow, to the place where the light from the lamps doesn't reach, to the door that doesn't creak. One of the guards opens it, and you see only darkness. Not a room, not a corridor, just darkness. The man stops in the doorway. He turns for a moment. His gaze glides around the hall, over the machines, over the people, over the lamps, as if he wants to remember this place, as if he understands that he will never see it again. And then he enters. The door closes. Quiet. The machines keep working. The norm doesn't stop. The rhythm doesn't change. But you feel that there's another void in the hall, another place that someone else will take tomorrow. You look at the edge of the machine, where the gloves are. Nobody takes them. They stay there until the end of the shift, as proof, as a memory. And then they disappear. You approach the woman with the dark hair in a bun. Where are they taking them? You ask. She doesn't look at you. Where they're taking them? What? Are you still needed? You look at the door. It looks ordinary again. Just a part of the wall. Just a piece of wood. But now you know. This is not a way out. This is the limit. The border between those who are still counted and those who have already been written off. And the scariest thing is not the door itself. The scariest thing is the silence that remains after it, because it means that the factory has counted someone again and decided that it can work without him. Last shift. They don't talk about the last shift here, as if the word itself could summon it. They say, one more. They say, hold on. They say, then. But everyone knows. The last shift comes quietly. It has no bell. It has no order. It just comes. You notice it in people's eyes. They become cloudy, as if they are looking through a fog that will not dissipate, as if the light from the lamps no longer reaches the pupils. You see a woman who has been working at a machine since early morning. She has been here for the second shift in a row. Her shoulders have slumped. Her back has bent. Her movements have become small and imprecise. She can't keep up with the rhythm. Not abruptly, not noticeably, drop by drop. The supervisor walks past her twice. The first time he looks at his watch. The second time he looks at the board. The third time he stops. You're tired, he says. This isn't sympathy. This is a statement. She nods. Then it's time for you to go. She doesn't ask where, because she knows. She slowly takes off her apron. She puts it on the edge of the machine, folded, neatly. like things being prepared for transfer. The people around her don't look. They look at the thread, at the belt, at the floor. Because if you look, you'll see yourself. You're following her. Not close, not next to her, at a distance that's not yet forbidden. She walks straight, slowly, as if she's afraid that if she speeds up, she won't make it. The door that doesn't creak is already open. They're waiting. You see her stop in front of them. She puts her hand on the wood. For a second, silently, as if saying goodbye. And then she walks in. The door closes. And you understand. This is the last shift for the factory. Not the one at night. Not the one in the morning. The one after which you're no longer counted. You return to the hall. The machines are running. They're already putting another one in her place. Younger, fresher, faster. He doesn't yet know that every shift could be his last. You look at the board. The numbers have been updated. The norm has increased again. No one has taken away one person. Because the factory doesn't count losses as a minus. She counts them as a process. You see the old man from the box. He is no more. The box is empty. In his place now lie the spools, as if he were just a shelf. You look at the girl with the knot. She has become shorter, not in height, in her gaze. He is now not looking ahead. He is looking down, as if she already knows where her path ends. And you understand. Here they are not afraid of death. Here they are afraid of pause, because pause is a stop, and a stop is a question, and questions are not liked here. You stand in the midst of the noise and feel how the factory breathes you. You are its rhythm. You are its movement. You are its replacement. And if you slow down, the last shift will find you by itself. When the noise dies. The factory doesn't know what silence is. It only knows the pause between the blows. You notice it the moment the bell rings for the last time in the shift. Not abruptly, not imperiously, but wearily, as if the metal itself doesn't want to sound anymore. People don't stop right away. Their hands are still making movements. Their shoulders are still tense. Their eyes are still searching for a thread, as if the body doesn't believe it's possible to stop. The machines are gradually slowing down. The wheels are turning more slowly. The belts are lowering. The metal is still shaking, as if after a long run. And suddenly, there is silence. It doesn't come softly. It falls, as if someone has lifted a huge burden from the ceiling, and now it lies among the people. You stand in the middle of the rows, and for the first time, you hear your own heart. It beats louder than you remember, as if it's also used to working in the noise. People look at each other, unsure, as if they don't recognize each other. Without the cars, they seem smaller. Without the belts, they seem more fragile. Without the rhythm, they seem confused. You see a woman with a dark knot of hair wiping her face with her sleeve. A light streak remains on her skin where the dust hasn't had time to settle. She looks at her hands, as if for the first time all day. The boy with the reels sits down on the floor. He doesn't take off his shoes. He doesn't lean against the wall. He just falls back to where he was standing. The girl with the knot touches the rope around her neck, as if checking to see if she's still here. The supervisor walks along the rows, without a stick, without a watch, without a list. He doesn't look into each other's eyes, because now there's nothing to check. The quota is met. The plan is closed. The numbers are written down. The factory is satisfied. You walk to the exit. The corridor seems longer than in the morning. Darker, colder. You pass the door with the sign. They are closed, silent, immovable, as if they are not waiting for anyone else today. You remember the bench. You remember the scratches, the footprints, the silence. And you think about those who sat here before you, about those who did not return to the hall, about those whose names remained on the sheet. You go outside. The air seems cold. The sky is too big. The street is too spacious. The city lives its own life. The shops are lit up. The carters are driving along the cobblestones. The lanterns cast a warm light on the wet stones. People are talking, laughing, in a hurry. No one hears the factory. No one feels its rhythm. But you feel it. You walk down the street, and the wheels are still turning inside you. You stop, and the belts are still running inside you. You try to breathe deeply, and your lungs are still looking for a pace. The factory does not let go right away. It remains in your shoulders, in your fingers, in your memory, and you understand. Even when the noise subsides, it does not disappear. It simply becomes a part of you. You look around. The building stands as a dark mass, without windows, without a face, ordinary, inconspicuous. No one knows how many lives it has contained, how many names it has erased, how many changes it has swallowed. And you know, tomorrow the bell will ring again. The belts will run again. The wheels will spin again. The children will stand between the machines again. Because the factory does not remember yesterday. It only remembers the rhythm. But you remember now. And while you remember, these people have not disappeared completely. They remained in the silence after the noise, in the pause between the blows, in this story. Because every factory has a heart, and every heart stops at some point. The only question is, who will hear it? If this story touched you, support it with a like, a subscription, and a silent comment. This helps such stories live on. Good night.